In today's tutorial, I'm going to teach you the 3 basic crochet stitches that you work in rows or flat lay crochet. For these swatches, I did 15 stitches across and 15 rows up. We will not be working all 15 in a tutorial, but we will be working a couple of each together. Let's start with reading what hook and yarn to get. Basically, any kind of yarn you want to use will have a label on it. And obviously these, I used 3 different yarns with each one of these swatches. So the yarn label will have somewhere on it these 3 boxes. And this one right here tells you that what size hook that you will need. And it will also give you dimensions. This one says 4 inches by 4 inches. And if you use a size 5mm hook and go 13 stitches across and 16 rows high, you should end up with a 4x4 square. I have never done a gauge swatch for a yarn label. I also did all 3 of these swatches with a 5 hook. Even though this yarn is actually a little bit thinner than the other 2 yarns that I used. You can see that it is a little bit squishier. It's not, I mean, this one you can pull tighter, but it is a slightly different texture than the other 2, and it is a little thinner. This one in real life looks a little bit thicker than it's showing up on camera. I'm not sure how that works, but this one's pretty accurate. Now, I would say that this one looks like it does outside of the camera. So there is a little bit of leeway. I'm going to use a 6mm for this tutorial. And that is because I want to give just a little bit more air into the stitch so that you can see it better. And I think we'll start with single crochet. This is what single crochet looks like. So grab your yarn and grab a hook, and let's get ready to start learning how to crochet. In order to start, make an X holding the end of the yarn. You're going to hold the center of the X with your thumb once you make it. Slip this off your finger. Hook the yarn and pull it through that circle, and then just pull up. Some people like to leave a long tail, so they'd start the X probably down here where I left a very short tail. Number one, I'm gonna pull these out. I'm not gonna cut anything off of the skein. But also I don't have a problem hiding or weaving in my ends when I do a short tail. But to each their own. You can play around with different size tails, but I just do short tails. So we are going to chain. I did 15 for the swatches, so let's do just 8. Let's chain 7. I'm sorry. Sometimes numbers are hard for me. Let's chain 9. 1 less than 10, okay? And I'm going to hold this tail, and I'm going to take the yarn. I'm going to put the hook under the yarn, and I'm going to pull it through that hole. And that is 1 chain. So I'm going to do it again. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Now you can count your chains because technically chains are still crochet stitches, and every crochet stitch has a V. This V, that's 1. This V, that's 2. It's 2 legs of the same stitch. Leg 1, leg 2, leg 3, leg 4. So let's count all 9 to make sure I have them all here. I'm going to hold the loop and the working tail in my pinch there. Sorry, I did it off camera. So this is the loop that goes on the hook. So it is not a completed V. But this is a closed V, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold on. I have to look at this and count. I can't do it through the camera without losing my spot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And then this loop goes on our hook, and we can tighten it up. You can pull your hook up and pull the working yarn to tighten the loop on your hook. Now, in order to start going up and changing rows in crochet, you need what we call a churning chain. Now remember, I said originally that we needed, I was going to do a swatch. Oh my goodness, I really can't talk today. It's not even early, I just haven't talked to anyone in a couple of days because I've been sick. Okay, let me start that sentence again. I said in the beginning that we were going to do a swatch of 8. So we did a chain of 9. So we are going to skip this first chain. Now for beginners, for beginners, you can just skip that leg and just work into this leg right here, just the one leg of the crochet. Pull up a loop and hook the yarn and pull it through both loops. And that is a single crochet. Let me walk you through that a couple more times. Working in the chain is one of the it's not hard. but it's fiddly because you have nowhere to hold your work, and it takes a little bit longer, so a lot of people really despise working into the chain. But and there's an advanced technique of working in the chain and a beginner. So I'm just going to stick with the beginner technique, and I will show you, I will make other videos for other techniques, okay? So you're going to put your hook into the one leg of the stitch, basically in the middle of the stitch. So you only have the loop on your hook that just counts as a loop on your hook, and one leg of the stitch. You're going to come up and over the yarn and pull it in just into that stitch. You're just pulling the yarn into that stitch. And then you're going to pull up the hook the yarn again and pull it in both of those loops on your hook. So split the stitch in half, basically. Up and over the yarn, pull it in, up and over the yarn, and then pull it through both. My thumb is literally going on the other leg of the stitch that we're not working in, and that is where it is holding, and I'm moving it after each stitch. Now that we've got one row down, we can count these better V's. I should have 8 because I started with 9 chains and I skipped 1 to turn. So 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is my camera going in and out of focus? That's not good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now, we've reached the end of a row, so we have to chain 1, and we have to switch our work over into our hands. So we were working this way. If you're right-handed, you will be working from right to left. So you just, like a book page. A lot of people flip it upside down. You need to flip it over like a book. So you go into both of the legs of the stitch for the ones that aren't chains. So you go up in both of the legs of the hook and you hook the yarn and you pull it through, and then you hook the yarn. Okay, maybe I can see there. There's a glare of the light and I couldn't see. Hook the yarn and you pull it through. Go through both of the legs of the train, the whole V. And you want to hook the yarn, and a lot of times I will do that with my finger manually like that instead of using my wrist, but I won't do that because you can't see through my finger. So hook the yarn, pull it up, hook the yarn again, and pull it through both of them. Go under both legs of the stitch, pull up a loop, hook the yarn, and pull through both. Let me see if zooming you out a little bit will help with the focus. I usually hold right underneath the stitch that I'm working in until I actually like fold up my project. That's why there's in my hand and hold onto it. That's why there's a little bit of the edges are turned up because of how I hold my yarn. But that is the edges being turned up like that is just number one, I have tight tension, and number two, just how I held it. If I washed this square, it would be flat. If I steamed this square, it would be flat. If I put something heavy on it for a couple of hours, it would be flat. It's just like that because I scrunched it like that while I was working on it. Now that I've zoomed out, let me put the phone back at the angle that it was. I think that will be a better, even though I was just zoomed in so you could see, I think this might be better for you guys to see. Now, I learned how to crochet looking top down like this so I could make sure that I was catching both legs of the stitch. But now that I know how to crochet, there's this hole right there. If you just pull your stitches apart just slightly to look, there's that hole right there. I know you can see it. I just don't know if you know which hole I'm talking about. You can see the one that I worked into for the last stitch. But right under this leg of the stitch is a hole. And that hole always goes right underneath both legs of the stitch. So now I can look at the back of my work and see where I need to put my hook. But if you, I was doing the wrong stitch there, hold on. If you have to start working like this and crochet sideways like this, that is valid, okay? I hooked the wrong thing there, but see this hole right there, just under that leg. I don't think I got both of those. The churning, the very first stitch of the row sometimes can be a little tricky just because especially if your tension's really tight, just because those legs seem not to be together. So you've seen, I realized I only had one loop. I only went through one loop and I looked for that second loop. That's row 2. Let's chain 1 and do a book page churn. You can very clearly see, because I'm using a bigger hook, that hole all the way through under both legs of the stitch. I said I wasn't going to do yarn over that way. Need to keep my fingers out from the phone. Under both legs of the stitch, pull up a loop and pull through 2. Pull up a loop and pull through 2. And I want to make sure you've seen that I just grabbed with my nail. I hooked that loop of the second loop of the stitch, so that when I went through this hole, now that I'm trying to show it to you on camera, I made sure that I was on both of them. Because when you only have one, you can pull a lot better than if you went under both of the loops. You see how you can barely see under my hook, where when I had one loop on my hook, I pulled up. So I knew just from pulling on the stitch that I had both of the loops on, I was under both of the loops of my stitch. Chain 1 and change your page. Sometimes I use my middle finger to brace a project while I'm pushing through. But a single crochet, you just go under the stitch, pull up a loop, and pull through 2. Into the stitch under the V's, pull up a loop, and pull through 2. On my swatch, I only worked a couple of into the 16th row to show you how short this stitch is. It's a very boxy stitch. This is the stitch that most tapestry crochet projects are made of, just because if you follow a grid, it'll be square and it won't be super long. It won't be a rectangular picture, it'll be a square. So that is how tall a single crochet is with regular worsted weight 4 yarn. If you don't understand what worsted weight is, that is an explanation video for another time. Now I think this is my favorite part to teach. What if you make a mistake? How do you go back and fix a mistake? Well, all you have to do is take your working yarn and just pull, and all of your work will come out. Some people call this frogging a project because you rip it, rip it, rip it. It can be really slow or it can be really fast. Now, let's learn half double crochet. This yarn is very beautiful, and but it has a halo, so the detail of a half double crochet isn't very there, but you can see you can kind of see it. So we start with a chain again. We need to start with the slip knot. Create an X, hold the X with our thumb, flick the loop off our finger, go in, hook the yarn and pull it through the loop. Hold both tails and just pull up. And then you can tighten it by pulling on the working yarn. So let's make another chain of 9. 1, 2, just hook the yarn and pull it through the loop. Hook the yarn and pull it through the loop. I've lost count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So for this one, you yarn over. This is what I kept trying to do with the single crochet. You take your hook and you go under the yarn and you just kind of pull up this, it's not really a loop, but this incompleted loop. That is called yarning over. And of course, we skip the first one we made and we'll go directly into the second. Oh, give me just a second. I was showing you the advanced way of working into a chain. So you yarn over, you skip the first chain, and you go into the top leg of the second. You hook the yarn and you pull up a loop, and then you pull through all 3 loops on your hook. You yarn over, go into your half of a chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3. yarn over, pull up a loop, and pull through all 3. This is a lot of people's favorite stitch because it is in between. It's not as simple as a single crochet, but it's not as time consuming or difficult as a double crochet. It's just halfway in between the two of them. Yarn over, go into the chain, pull through all 3, yarn over, go into the next stitch of the chain, pull up a loop, pull through all 3, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through all 3. Now let's count them. Make sure we have 8. This is our first completed chain or stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And if I straighten the end here, there's 8. This V down here is our chain, so you do have to be careful between what is a stitch and what is a chain. So let's count that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the chain is on the bottom. And the big loop is for our hook. So we chain 1 and we turn the page. Yarn over. I tend to hold the yarn over with my thumb just so it doesn't slip off the hook. Pull up a loop, pull through all 3, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through all 3, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through all 3, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through all 3, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through all 3, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through all 3, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through all 3, and the very last one, make sure you go through both legs of that stitch, pull up a loop, and pull through all 3. I'm doing a single crochet. Yarn over. There we go. You can see how tall a single crochet is. Half double crochet, half double crochet. It is about double the height. I apparently threw this out of reach. It's at least 1/2 of the height, if not double the height of a single. It depends on what yarn you're using. Again, this yarn is a lot thinner than this one. There is a lot more air in this stitch, but if you're looking for a lot more air, then we have double crochet as an option. And you can see how tall this is. Using some yarns, this is almost 1/2 of an inch tall. Sometimes with some yarns, it's a little more. So let's learn how to do a double crochet. Okay, let's start with another chain of 8. And again, to chain, you just yarn over and pull through the loop on your hook. Unless you're in the middle of a stitch, there should only be one hook loop on your hook. And I again have lost count, so let's count the V's. How many stitches have I made? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And let's do 9. If I misspoke earlier, did I say let's do a chain of 8 or 9 when I started the double crochet swatch? We're going to do 8 double crochets, and we needed the chain 1 to churn. So we're going to skip that the churning chain, and we're going to go into the top leg of this chain stitch. After we yarn over and go into this leg, we're going to bring up a loop and we're going to pull it up. And just like the half double crochets, you have 3 loops on your hook. But for double crochet, you're going to yarn over and only bring through 2 of those loops. So you have 2 more loops on your hook, and you can yarn over and pull through both of those. This is the same stitch as the granny square clusters need. So this isn't new on my channel, but maybe you haven't seen that video. So let's go over it again. Yarn over. Go into this chain stitch. Pull up a loop. Yarn over again. Pull through 2. And yarn over again and pull through 2. Yarn over, go into the next stitch. Pull up a loop. Yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, pull through 2. Go into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now let me give you a little tip for taller stitches. You don't have to chain just one, as long as you skip, the turning changes, the turning chains, you can chain 2. And a lot of people for a double crochet will do that. And if they have tight tension, they might even crochet or chain 3. So let's show you what it is like to chain 2 and then go into the row. Yarn over and pull through. Yarn over and pull through. Turn your work like a page in a book. Go into the first stitch. Yarn over, pull up a loop. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, go into your next stitch. Pull up a hook. Oh my goodness. Pull up a loop. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. It still is weird to watch my hands work through the screen, but it is a lot easier now that I don't have to be also hugging a tripod. This swatch, I'm going to go a couple of rows so I can show you what rows of chaining 2 and chaining 3 look like. So let's chain 2 again. Turn my work like a page, and let's make it across the next what, Sarah? Make it across these stitches to the next churn. I wasn't thinking that, but I can come up with something that I was thinking, sure. Now before I work into here, I want to count my stitches. And remember, this first one is just 2 chains. So I'm going to count this post here. I'm going to count the double crochets with these posts instead of the V's, only so I don't confuse you, because this V is from the chains that we did at the beginning of the row, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this does look like a stitch, but it is simply the chain 2 that I did before. And you can tell that the double crochets from the chain 2 because of the difference in the post. These are 2 V's. The post is this upside down V and this twist. And then of course, the leg, the first leg of the stitch. So let me do a chain of 3, and for this purpose I'm going to do really tight ones. If you pull up on this finger, that is how you crochet tighter. Whereas if you relax that finger and just let the yarn flow over it, that's how you do looser crochet. I'm going to go into the last stitch. I'm going to do 2 rows of double crochets real quick just so you can see what it looks like, especially compared to my swatch where I only chained 1 after each row. I typically only chain 1. And remember that this is chains, not an actual stitch. I didn't tighten these chains as much. There was a tangle in the working yarn and it uncame, so my tension became different because it wasn't tight. And again, that is a chain 3, so we don't work into it. Okay, so now I'm just going to pull up a huge loop and let you look at this. Now, the first is where we started with just a chain 1. And then these two have the chain 2s, and then these two have the chain 3s. Now, if you look at it compared to just chain 1s all the way throughout, you can see that the extra chains, when you do extra chains, they make, to me, this ugly little bump out that, and you don't even need it, in my opinion. That's my opinion. So I never listen to a pattern. When it tells me to chain 2, I only ever just chain 1 and turn and start working into my work. But everyone's favorite part of the swatch, where you take the yarn and you rip it out. Whoops. There was a little knot. All right, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed that tutorial, and hopefully the shaking wasn't noticeable. Every time I breathe, it rises. Did not expect that for a chest mount, but I guess it makes sense, especially since I'm talking, and that makes me breathe even more. Leave any questions you have for me down below. I will try and answer them. I hope this audio and quality is okay. I'm still very new, but I am using one of my new mics from Christmas, and my chest mount was a Christmas gift. So hopefully you guys can tell a difference between this tutorial and the granny square tutorial. Please like and comment something, share the video. If there is an option to hype the video, I'd appreciate that too. I hope you guys have a beautiful day. Bye!